So good morning, good afternoon, good evening in any part of the world you're settled. So this is our meeting with the Coffee for Talks of the Social Innovation Special Interest Group of ISPIM. So just a couple of words. You are here because, of course, you're interested into the topic, but in general, the aim of this SIG is, to merge and gather scholars and professionals that are curious and they want to bring together experiences and compelling results about societal challenges, and putting together experiences, knowledge, and also maybe innovative tools and also approaches in order to tackle nowadays societal challenges. So as I told you, one of the main, let's say, initiatives of this group is the Coffee for Talks. So very not so long sessions, online session where we invite both practitioners but also academics that have been involved in recent and very insightful projects and researches about social innovation. And today the coffee will be served by Olivia Wang. She is a lecturer in experiential learning from the University of Hong Kong, and specifically she will present us about her research on how universities and education in general is nurturing social change capacities of students, staff, and in general stakeholders. So I will leave the floor to Olivia, and thanks a lot for being here with us.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Olivia from the University of Hong Kong. First of all, thank you very much to Elena and Kiriaki for the invitation to share my research with this wonderful community of social innovation, SIG. And thank you, everyone, for being interested in this topic and for joining me at this session. So my research basically centers around university-based social innovation and social entrepreneurship education and universities' societal engagement more broadly. So with my current role at the experiential learning team at the Faculty of Social Sciences, I basically design and implement social innovation related educational programs for our undergraduate students. And so if you are interested in this topic or interested in our experimentation at the faculty, so please feel free to reach out to me anytime. I'll be happy to stay in touch and exchange ideas. Right, so for today's presentation, I think Elena mentioned that we have a rather diverse audience. So I think I'll start with a very quick introduction of the development of social innovation and entrepreneurship education, which I call SIE education, to set the context. And then I will share some interesting insights developed through my research on the global practices and Hong Kong experiences on universities' teaching and learning practices. So so the idea of social innovation and social entrepreneurship basically emerged as a response to unprecedented societal challenges and provides a language for us to conceptualize those bottom-up phenomena where new ideas grow from humble roots and entrepreneurial individuals into substantial social capacities. So over the years, there's an increasing recognition of SIE across sectors, including academia. And SIE education basically refers to the process of developing competencies and aspirations among our learners for positive social change through systematic and sustainable educational approaches. And the fact that the field of SIE is multidisciplinary provides a very fertile ground for diverse educational programs and innovations. So SIE education did not just emerge in a vacuum, right? Changes in the higher education itself, including massifications and diversifications of student bodies and expanding missions from teaching to research and then to societal engagement, all facilitated the adoption of SIE education into the formal university curriculum and processes. So research has shown a remarkable development of SIE-related courses and programs. And the left-hand side here, that's the data from the US. You can see this remarkable upward trend in terms of the SIE program offerings in the US. And these development characters are actually observed on a global scale as well, through the first, second, and third waves of development identified by Ashoka previously based on their observations in the university systems. So university-based SIE education really sits at the intersection of two very important fields of scholarship: social innovation and social entrepreneurship studies, and higher education studies. Yet it is under-researched, at least to my opinion, by either side of the fields. So there is a lack of understanding towards the educational processes. But with this increasing interest in SIE education, so there is really an urgent need to unpack this black box of how SIE courses are conducted in universities and connecting the dots basically from diverse teaching and learning practices. So as suggested, I'll be mostly focused on the teaching and learning aspects today, but of course, orienting education for social innovation requires more than a coherent understanding of the teaching and learning practices. So I also research on how to navigate those institutional complexities to sustain this innovation practices within the university institution. So if that's an interest of you, so we can definitely talk about it during the discussion sessions or later on. So yes, the fundamentals, the teaching and learning levels, right? So in the curriculum studies, we often consider Taylor's 4 fundamental questions for curriculum development, which are basically concerned with the educational purposes, educational experiences, and outcome evaluation. So to answer these questions in the context of SIE education, we first conducted a scoping review on the global practices, and then we zoomed into the Hong Kong experiences, the Hong Kong context, for a more focused syllabus review and interviews with academics that are actually teaching and designing SIE courses. So for the scoping review, we basically identified 43 papers from, I think, over 400 peer-reviewed journal articles that are actually describing SIE course designs across different geographical contexts. And then to think about orienting education towards social innovation, right? We first need to start with making sense of, as I said, this diverse educational experiences designed for nurturing social innovators across contexts and across disciplines. So in our study, we identified 2 dimensions that play a very important role in framing SIE educational approaches. They are educators' conceptualization of SIE and students' societal engagement. So educators, I think, just think about ourselves, right? Because of our different disciplinary backgrounds and professional experiences, we would have different conceptualizations of SIE. And that actually influences what we believe should be emphasized in the education processes, and especially as we approach SIE not only from the traditional kind of business and entrepreneurial perspective, but also from a multidisciplinary perspective. So here we adopted the SIE as a cluster concept model, which sees it as an essentially contested concept with 5 integral parts. And from the review paper, we basically see that all the courses that has been written in the journal articles has a strong emphasis on social value creation. And that's in fact the common identity of this group of education innovations in the curriculum. However, then we see that some courses were designed to place stronger emphasis on the social entrepreneurship organization aspect, focusing on organizational forms, mechanisms, operational processes, and some courses emphasize on its market orientation, especially being financially self-sustainable while addressing social issues. And some courses focus on the persons, like the social entrepreneurs, the social innovators, and letting students basically analyze what does it take to be a social entrepreneur, and the characteristics and identity aspects. And in comparison, some courses that focus on the idea generation of social innovation, that means really understanding social issues, propose and implement solutions in the classroom setting. So these different conceptualizations of SIE are evidenced from the curriculum design across discipline and context, and overall they form a range actually from the fundamental focuses on the theoretical and conceptual content of SIE to the relatively narrow focus on social enterprises and market orientations, and then to the broader focus on social innovation and social value creation. And then different course designs also grant students with different levels of participation and approaches to societal issues. And this include teaching strategies from classroom-bound and content-driven kind of approaches to the more authentic learning pedagogies, including, as we said, experiential learning, work-integrated learning, service learning, and etc. And students' roles also expanded from providing solutions, let's say as a consultant, but basically as an outsider, to the really kind of participating in the process of co-defining problems, co-creating and implementing solutions with different stakeholders. So with this kind of different forms of engagement, the SIE classrooms becomes more inclusive of students from more disciplines and backgrounds, not only business and entrepreneurship, but also diverse disciplinary fields. So taking these dimensions into consideration, we basically categorized 4 approaches to SIE education. There are education about SIE, education for SIE, education through SIE, and education embedded with SIE. So each with different curriculum focus, pedagogical strategies, learning outcomes, and disciplinary hosts and target student populations. So I think I've mentioned some of these key ideas, so I will not go into the details here, but if you're interested, we can definitely discuss about it later, and more examples of these course designs can be found in our scoping review paper. So the review on global practices enables us to basically construct this coherent understanding towards SIE educational designs in universities. But still, among these diverse educational approaches, what are the essential aims and orientations of these courses and how they achieve these aims and evaluate students in the process. So to have a more in-depth and cross-disciplinary analysis, we decided to focus on the Hong Kong context. So just a very quick word about the Hong Kong context. So Hong Kong is a global city that is internationally connected with a capitalist mindset, and is marked by many of the social issues we face globally, such as income inequality. So the Hong Kong SIE ecosystem emerged in the mid-2000s with strong public sector support. And the subsequent growth of SIE-related courses in local universities was actually remarkable. So over just, I think, 1 decade, Almost all the higher education institutions have rolled out their own SIE courses and programs to different extent. And in our curriculum review, we identified over 53 syllabi from over 40 courses across all the 8 publicly funded universities. So you can see the distribution of the syllabi according to disciplines and educational levels. So they really spread across the disciplines, not only business and social sciences, but increasingly other disciplines as well. And then we adopted Shiro's curriculum ideology as a theoretical lens to help us examine SIE curriculum across different disciplines and learning designs. So basically, it helps us better understand the different aims and rationales that underlie educators' decision-making when they engage in curriculum activities. So basically, Shiro proposed the 4 curriculum ideologies: scholarly, academic, learner-centered, social efficiency, and social reconstruction. And in exploring the varying aims and orientations of SIE curricula, we actually see close alignment of the course designs with these 4 curriculum ideologies. And I will explain the context of SIE education. So firstly, the design of SIE curriculum, we find that are often grounded in the disciplinary knowledge, offering diverse perspectives, basically shaped by educators' expertise and disciplinary knowledge. For example, SIE courses offered in the social sciences discipline tends to place a considerable emphasis on understanding the unmet community level demands, and students are encouraged to rethink and diagnose social issues through various theoretical lens, such as the gender lens or leadership theories, and policy often plays a central role in scaling SIE initiatives. And in contrast, SIE courses that are offered by the business schools often emphasize creating and managing for example, social businesses and social ventures that yield both social and financial returns. And social impact is basically generated and scaled through the successful operation of social businesses. And additionally, as I said, with this expanding disciplinary coverage, disciplines like engineering, designs, and educations are increasingly integrating SIE into their core curriculum. And many actually view SIE education as a means to reshape their curricula to reflect a stronger connection with sustainable development, with sustainability, and a humanistic perspective. So these aspects of courses emphasize the importance of disciplinary expertise and intellectual rigor, and thus we see that it aligns closely with the scholar academic ideology. And secondly, educators of SIE often frame a vision of social betterment in their courses. So by encouraging students to envision societal improvements and develop innovative solutions to social problems, they create a vision for creating positive change for a better society. And students are basically evaluated both on the degree to which their work address social issues and the potential of it, for example, projects and etc., to effect positive social change. And this curriculum orientation effectively embodies the principles of social reconstruction. And thirdly, many educators of SIE also aim to cultivate transferable and career-specific skills through their SIE courses. So the goal here is really to enhance students' employability through skill development and prepare them for a future career path. And many courses actually offer opportunities for students to learn by working alongside organizations, alongside community members. And in fact, evaluation methods tends to focus on the extent to which students demonstrate their mastery of certain generic and career-specific skills. And this aligns with the ideology of social efficiency. And lastly, many educators basically design their courses with the aim, with the motive to facilitate personal transformation among students by emphasizing reflective thinking, self-awareness, and social and self-confidence. So students are basically encouraged to explore their learning processes and personal development in terms of their skills, their knowledge, and their attitudes. And this transformative nature of SIE courses is actually well captured, I think, by what one of our interviewers shared with me. Once you see it, you cannot unseen it. That illustrates the impact of engaging with social issues, with engaging with actual communities. So yeah, if you are teaching SIE, I guess we all have a unique opportunity to reshape students' perspective towards themselves and towards the societies that they are in. So coming back to Taylor's fundamental questions for curriculum design, so our analysis basically shows, I would say, an evolution in education purposes over time, initially emerging as a minor content in business courses, and then later on give momentum with public policy attentions and fundings from the public and from the private sector. And as SIE education was adopted by other faculties and schools, the focus and the objectives were redesigned according to the disciplinary goals. But however, the current educational purposes we find are still constrained by the disciplinary boundaries. And we keep talking about interdisciplinary education, interfaculty collaboration, but actually we don't see that much evidence in the global practices as well as in Hong Kong experiences. And then in terms of the learning experiences, the analysis basically demonstrates that SIE education has two very broad orientations, training up and leading forth. So the training up aspects focuses more on equipping students with essential knowledge and skills for SIE practices. And then the leading forth aspects tends to engage students in acquiring skills that are of general interest and position themselves as potential actors in the SIE system. It's more like planting a seed, and we'll see what happens in a few years that comes. So understanding this, I think, two orientations can help to inform curriculum design to meet the diverse needs of our student bodies. And then on the organization of SIE education courses, well, while it reflects multiple curriculum ideologies, most of them are still standalone elective courses in the formal curriculum structure. So this is the case globally as well as in Hong Kong. So I think it is crucial to basically address this limitation of isolated learning context and develop strategies for continuous learning support within the curriculum for our students. And then in terms of the outcome evaluation, current assessment in SIE curriculum tends to focus very much on students' skill development within the course. And also overlooking the broader societal impact of their educational projects and engagement. So this gap actually highlights the need to improve our evaluation methods, to think about how can we better measure the real world effects of SIE education in the long run on students and communities, and also involve the voices of multiple stakeholders. So I think the evaluation piece is really important in terms of lending legitimacy of SIE education within the higher education system. So, orienting education to social innovation starts at the teaching and learning level. And I hope the insights from these studies will provide you with a more holistic perspective on the teaching and learning aspects of SIE education and how you could position your own courses within the frameworks, and more importantly, how can we think about going a step further to support students with diverse needs. So I think that's pretty much all about the presentation part. I look forward to hearing more about your thoughts as well. To what extent these insights align with your teaching and learning experiences, and where you're located in the spectrum, where do you want to go, and etc. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Olivia. This was very, very interesting. I have lots of questions because I've been, as I mentioned earlier, I've been involved in some challenge-based learning initiatives tackling like sustainable development goals. So there's lots of things that resonated with me. Maybe as I'm waiting to hear any thoughts from or any questions from the participants, I can ask the question of how do you navigate the institutional complexity that is necessary to deal with in order to do initiatives like this. You put institutional complexity as one of the things in the one of your first page. So yeah, I wonder because they're very different from the kind of the kind of the educational experiences that the lecture-based, disciplinary-oriented learning approaches, no? It's something very different that completely, to me, it challenges the whole educational system and infrastructure. So tell me some of your experiences while we're gathering. Please type your questions if you have online, or keep thinking while Olivia is tackling this question.
Thank you very much for the question. Because initially I wanted to focus on the teaching and learning aspect, but I was looking at the title that Elena suggested, Orienting Education to Social Innovation. So I kept thinking that if we really want to reorient the complex education system towards social innovation, teaching and learning, of course, is a very important, a fundamental piece of it, an important layer of it. But orienting the system definitely requires us to go beyond the course level and think about the system level. So I think these ideas about navigating complexity actually rooted from my own research. I started with doing research on courses, education practices, but very soon I realized that a lot of these courses tends not to be sustainable within the university institutional system. Many of them, some of the courses, for example, are very innovative, but they are pilot and experimental in nature, and they don't get to be sustained within the course structure. And some courses are basically can be successfully integrated into the disciplinary course and continue to create increasing impact. So I was wondering what causes these different development trajectories of these education innovations within the system. So for the research, I also talked to academics for their experiences designing the courses, but also for their experiences leading such innovations within the institutions. And soon I realized that to navigate the complexity, a very important piece are the academics themselves. So the agentic role that played by these academics in driving changes, in implementing innovations and driving these innovations sustainably. So I guess to understand the complexity, a very important first step is to be able to map the system, to have this typology, perhaps of tensions within the different layers of the system. At the individual level, academics, besides teaching these SIE courses, what are the factors they see as enablers and constraints towards their driving of innovative acts. For example, especially when I talk to junior academics, I feel that they feel very stressed by the academic evaluation system, where they focus a lot on evaluating their academic output in terms of how many papers they are going to publish in the high impact journals. Their passion and their time and efforts dedicated towards driving community engagement, SIE education innovations are not recognized within the evaluation system. So there's a tension at the individual level. There's also tension at, I think, the community level in terms of the academic community. I think in the presentation I mentioned, a good thing is we see the expansion of disciplinary outreach of SIE education, not only business, but also increasingly other disciplines. But these are from the research of our social innovator, our educators of social innovations who are passionate about this topic. But from a more broader perspective, when academics sits in their office, does their faculty, does their department support such ideas of social innovation, support the importance of engaging with communities within their disciplinary culture? I think that's another story. So that's the community level. And what I can think of is also the institutional level as well. Are there additional support for educators that drive these innovations? Can they create specific dedicated structures within the institution to support interdisciplinary learning, right? So I think the very first step to navigate the complexity is being able to map out all these tensions, enablers, and constraints within the system, and also acknowledge the agentic role of us as educators, of academics in driving changes and driving innovations, navigating the complexities within the institution. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
No, I think you pointed to the complexity of the answer because of the question is very complex. So you pointed to all these different elements, very, very to the point. Sarah has a question or a comment. I don't know if Sarah would like to express the question. I know it's very, Sarah, do you know? I don't know if you would be interested in speaking or so I think what Sarah says in the comments is something along the lines about we also be interested in the engagement for policy kind of. And
yes, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
My mic was muted. Yes, because we were actually involved in an R&D project, and during the course of the project, actually towards the end of the project, we found out that many, like it will probably happen to many of you, like the many more dimensions that would be worthwhile, interesting to pursue. And so we wrote a paper about it and tried to reflect on our own learning within the course of the project. So I think we captured some dimensions. It was about unaccompanied refugee minors, so a very sensitive topic. And we also tried to reflect on the institutional side of it. But the thing was, we were really, we tried to write a paper, but it was really like last minute and we could make it happen. But then again, we didn't have the time to maybe adequately feedback our learning into the community of our research partners, because it was a bigger EU-funded project. So I think you already mentioned it. It's actually down to, I guess, timelines. And so how, I don't know, it was maybe more a question of experience. How, in your experience, could you still handle these differing timelines or make things happen, like when the time frames are so different, maybe overlapping, but it's very different also when it comes to funding, because now the project is over and of course we don't have time, unfortunately, to pursue this question much longer. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you for the question. In terms of timeline, I think based on our observations in the Hong Kong context, we did see it surfaced as an issue with some of the programs. For example, at the teaching and learning level, previously, I think we did have this private fundings that are very progressive in terms of supporting social innovation courses within higher education institutions, for example, business schools and social policies, social science schools. But then gradually, these fundings from the private sector runs out. And then it becomes a problem, again, as what we just mentioned about navigating the complexity. How can we sustain this existing innovative courses that has already been created? Well, I have to say, unfortunately, some of the courses just falls apart, and the lectures were, the professors were directed to other important research areas, but still, a more optimistic note, some courses get to maintained in the university. So it is really important, I think, to have a continuous, to be able to find continuous funding sources for at least courses at the teaching and learning level. If the private funding runs out, what's the purpose for the private funding? Are they used to kind of stimulate innovative ideas to test things, to pilot things? And if that's the purpose, they don't have the responsibility to sustain it in the system forever. So it's up to the university policies, university structures. How can they adopt this successful experimentation of education innovations and integrate it into their existing curriculum structures? Yeah, so I think for both the scoping review that I shared just now, as well as a curriculum review, what I focused on are the courses that are actually already in the formal curriculum system of universities. That means they're credit bearing and they're part of undergraduate or postgraduate curriculum. So we do see a lot of activities, for example, at the teaching and learning level, that are ad hoc or organized by passionate individuals or passionate students, but they don't get to go into the university system if they don't get into if they don't get integrated into the formal system. How can you talk about impact on
that's it exactly, right? Yeah. But as we're just talking, I was still thinking maybe there could be an analogy to like communication. When you nowadays communication is also like very much multi-channel. So maybe thinking about impact also means to think not like in a way the means of one only key indicator, but many key impact indicators. So it could be like, as you said, like integration into the curriculum, or maybe someone initiating another project or initiative, or maybe whatever, like some journalist picking the topic up and broadening it and making impact when it comes to public awareness. So maybe it's really thinking like multidimensional. It's very interesting. Thank you.
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think an important part of it is, I'll say the impact measurement part. We always talk about impact measurement in social entrepreneurship, in social innovation projects, but we don't really talk about impact measurement at the course level, at the teaching and learning level. So usually a course ends and students moves on, but are we able to measure the impact that is being created through the course, either on students, slightly on a longer term, whether it affects their academic interests in terms of choosing other related courses in the system, or whether it affects their career decisions in a longer run. And can we measure students create great projects sometimes, but these projects don't get to carry on after the course. Can we measure the impact, at least of, I think, the implementation of some of these great projects in the community, the impact that actually created on the community. So I think all this data would be very important in terms of finding legitimacy to educational courses to provide us evidence. Like we always talk about evidence-based learning, evidence-based policy, then can this data, having this data will help us at a better position in terms of talking to university decision makers and policy makers to attract funding and resources for SIE courses.
Yeah, this is fascinating. We have a few more questions. I don't know if I can invite anyone to kind of unmute themselves, or should I just pick a question from the chat. Who wants to kind of say something? You can raise your hand or just unmute and take the microphone. Otherwise, I can just briefly say that yeah, there's a nice comment from Sylvie about the question of time, no, and how there's this pressure from, as you said, junior academics to publish or perish, but then also they have this pressure to community engagement, and this creates like it's an inherent tension and conflict. But Matthias raises an interesting question to you. Maybe we can end with this opening up, which is that I don't know, Matthias, if you want to express it yourself.
Sure.
The question.
Gladly. Thank you.
Yeah, perfect.
So we are actually currently in the process of starting a cross-university social innovation accelerator with 5 participant universities. And I would be highly interested to learn from you what would be your main recommendations for us in this process, given what you've learned from your research.
Right. Thank you for sharing this very interesting project. I'll be very much interested in studying your, practices, cross-institutional practices, because we don't get to see a lot of them globally and in the Hong Kong context. I think it's very difficult. Probably if you ask any academics, it's very difficult to create cross-institutional or even cross-disciplinary collaborations within, I would say, still the quite siloed faculty structure within universities, unless there's institutional support, there is external funding support that are dedicated to cross-institutional and cross-disciplinary research. So I guess definitely funding is important. The institutional support, meaning the leadership support, is very important. And also, as I shared, as I responded to Kiraki's very first question about navigating complexity, I think funding passionate academics is very important as well. Because I really like this quote, even the most constrained situation will leave academics with certain rooms of maneuver. I think it's from a scholar of a scholar that studies education change within institutional systems. So I think engaging passionate academics is very important, because at the end of the day, they are the ones that basically make things happen, create, I think, resources to navigate and circumvent those constraints. And I think all of us here are passionate about social innovation, and probably social innovation educators. So I think, yeah, ending on a positive note, I do hope that there's more projects for us to drive our passion.
Absolutely. No, and in my experience also, I want to add practitioners, because in my experience with social innovation initiatives, it was actually outside the tenure track practitioners that would come in and act as coaches, versus the tenure faculty that was very much kind of focused. They just wanted to do their lectures and just focus on their articles. So there's also a need to rethink maybe their roles. And that there are different kinds of roles that are needed, perhaps, for social innovation and entrepreneurship learning versus traditional lecture-based learning, and that the role of practitioners is more important, or those that are in kind of at the edges of academia. I think there is a lot of space for them to be engaged lively in these initiatives. Well, unless anyone wants to appear and claim the microphone, what I suggest is that we wrap up today's coffee with leaving us with lots of thoughts that maybe we can actually pick up with the new year. We can rethink, because I think this is a topic about, you know, education and social innovation and learning experiences, experiential ways of learning, tackling SDGs and societal challenges, something along those lines that could be interesting. Maybe we can invite Matthias, for example, or
yeah. And we have also Capacities who,
yes, exactly,
who joined with us. The reference
yeah, exactly.
to the book.
I mean,
So
I don't know,
you.
Matthias or Catrilis, what you're saying, or any other people attending today, but this is the idea of these sessions, is to start having conversations and then see how we can maybe translate those conversations into defining a gap that we can apply for funding, or like a cost action or an Erasmus or something like this. So Catrilis said yes. That's great.
Yeah,
But,
that's the community, that's the SIG.
yeah, great.
So lively. So we are very happy.
Exactly, that's the purpose of these kind of coffee breaks, to stimulate and create a community. Elena, I'll leave the final word to you.
Please reach us, me and Kyriaki, with the special interest group, and thanks really. Again, a warm thanks to joining us today and sharing your amazing work and your ideas. And thanks again, Olivia, for this presentation. Really engaging. And you see also the feedback from the audience. So thanks a lot to everyone.